Welcome to the 5 for 2 podcast with me, your host Adele, where we say no to careers where you're trading 5 days of misery for 2 days of fun. A place we discuss all things career, confidence, and money moves. I want to motivate, teach, and empower ambitious women to achieve more, earn more, feel more confident, and enjoy the work they do. It's all about believing you can have everything you want in your career and then going and getting it. So if you're ready, let's get into it.
Hey, welcome to another episode. How are you all today? Hope it's a good day. We're going to be talking about poor management, but I still hope it ends up being a good day. I'm going to start by saying this. If it costs you your peace or your mental health, it's too expensive. I'm going to say that one more time. If it costs you your peace or your mental health, it is too expensive. But that being said, you don't have to give up your dream job because of one person. They might be one crappy person, but you don't have to give up your dream job because of them. Sometimes, and I know this to be very, very true in my own experience, that amazing pay rise, that amazing job title, that great office with great people, and just a great job that you really enjoy, like the perfect job description for you, comes with a manager with the worst attitude, the worst social skills, the worst ability to lead. And you got to deal with that. And that sometimes can push you to wanting to not be there and wanting to leave. A couple of my clients recently and some of the listeners of this podcast have reached out to me to talk to me about this subject. And I thought it would just be a great opportunity to address it here on the podcast. People have said to me, like, I've got a great role. I've got a great salary. I've been working towards this, Adele. I've used all your tips in your podcast to get here. And now, a few months in, I don't want to be here because I've got this crap manager. What do I do? Now, in some situations, the answer will be, I need to leave. But in other situations, it may not be, but you might not see that option because you haven't thought about what other ways you can deal with this person, what other ways you can maybe highlight how this person is. And it is never straightforward. I don't think it's as simple as, I went to HR. Because I'm going to be real honest with you. HR, senior management, they probably know when your boss is an arsehole. I have dealt with some arseholes in my time. And trust me, senior management knows. HR knows. The reason they do nothing about it is because that manager is probably delivering a result that they really want, a result that no one else in the company quite knows how to deliver just as well. So they would rather lose team members than lose that result. And I tell you guys all the time, companies care about profit. That manager's somehow giving them either the profit or the reputation that they desire. So they would rather lose you than lose them. However, this episode, I'm going to teach you how to change that around. Because just like I said, I have dealt with some assholes in my career. But that just made me better at influencing, documenting, and being super stealth with highlighting people's disgusting attitudes and their disgusting behaviors. Because I am not about to let a rude person who clearly hates their job, because it's as simple as that. You either hate your job or you hate your life. Let's say you hate your life, because that's the truth. I'm not going to let someone who hates their life mess with my money or a job that I enjoy. Because if you was happy in your life, you wouldn't be coming to work and stressing me out. You wouldn't be coming to work and stressing the team out. It's not our fault. If your life is not gone the way you wanted it to go, do not come to work and stress us out. For anyone who's listening, any managers who don't realize that you're the problem, listen, if all your team keep leaving and people keep making complaints about you, it's you. You're the problem. And we need to check ourselves all the time on a regular basis. How happy are we in general? Because the less happy you are, the more you take it out on other people in this world. You shouldn't. Anyone who follows or listens to Tabitha Brown, if you don't, go and listen to her. But she has a saying where she says, have a good day. But if you can't, don't go messing up anyone else's. And I love that saying, because just because you're having a bad day, why should you take it out on the world? Why should you take it out on the rest of us? We're just here trying to do our job, live our lives. So today, I'm going to teach anyone who is struggling with poor management, crappy boss, and even colleagues. Let me talk to you about how you can fix the situation and potentially make the situation better for you so that you don't have to end up walking away from a job. Again, remember what I said at the beginning of the episode, sometimes walking away is the only option, but let's exhaust every other option first. Because imagine you love your job, you love the money, and now you're going to leave because of one person. That's not what we're about to do. So I'm going to start by telling you my own little story. I had an awful boss once, awful supervisor, awful. She used to throw her weight around. She used to be so rude when our senior boss wasn't in. She was aggressive. She was really good at her job. I just want to say that part because I will respect anyone who's good at their job, because sometimes what we do is we are so upset with the person we don't acknowledge that actually they're good at their job. She was excellent at her job. She was just a crap leader. She didn't know how to speak to people. She spoke to people like crap. She spoke down to people. She would mock people. We had a girl in our office and she would be like, you wear Juicy Couture. That's disgusting. This is FYI, this is back in the day when Juicy first came to the UK and everyone was on it. I don't know, early 2000s, somewhere in the 2000s. I can't remember exact dates, but definitely early 2000s. You all know what I'm talking about. When Fat Farm and all that was still in, and Evisu jeans. And anyway, it's not a promotional show, but you know what I'm talking about. So them days there, people were getting Juicy Couture and she'd be like, she'd say things like, you shop at Primark, you shop at Argos. I would never be seen dead there. Firstly, who are you talking to, sis? Because even to this day, it don't matter how much money I make, I will still shop in the same cheap shops that I loved before, as well as expensive shops. Because it's not nice just because it's name brand. Yuck. Anyway, I hate people like that. I hate bullies in general. You guys know, I've spoken about it before. If you've been here for a while, I was bullied as a kid. And then I became the woman who stood up for everyone because we're not about to be bullied. So I hate to see adult bullies. You really didn't grow out of your mean girl era. You're still in the mean girl era. Let me help you out real quick. So she was always throwing her weight around, like I said, always mean to everyone, always rude, always undermining, always saying our work wasn't good enough, always if we made a small mistake, she'd bring it to everyone's attention, the whole office needed to know. She would always put you on the spot in team meetings. She would just go out of her way to embarrass you, whether it was to do with work or not. She wanted you to feel small around her. She would let you know of all her accomplishments, but never celebrate anyone else's. She was vile. She wouldn't necessarily train you on certain things, but then would have a go at you for not knowing it. When she would train you, now listen, like I said, she was good at her job. When she would train you, she'd have an attitude if you didn't learn it immediately, quick, fast. Guys, we all learn at different speeds. It's not okay. She would shout at you, raise her voice. It was just a whole catalogue. I can keep listing things, but she was vile. That's all I can say, vile. And I'm using that word, and I don't use that lightly. For me to say someone is vile, they're vile. But later on, I found out she had a lot of issues, home issues. And again, like I said, just because you're having problems at home, don't come and take it out on the rest of us. But it always seems to be the person that is not happy in their life that has to come and terrorize the rest of us. Anyway, she kept on, like I said, she was really good at her job. She made a lot of money for the company. So they weren't about to get rid of her. People could sense her attitude. Our boss above her used to sometimes be like, don't say that or don't speak like that. But she would throw her weight around a lot more when other people went around. So for instance, when people were around in your face, she was lovely. But on email, when other managers went around, she was a vile human being. I would just ignore her. I would just get on with my job. I would let a lot of things slide, a lot of things slide. We were all allowed to eat at our desks. It was because it was the kind of environment where they would encourage you to eat at your desk so that you didn't leave, so that you could keep working, basically. It was kind of toxic. The environment itself was toxic. At the time, I didn't realize. I was in my 20s. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't care. I could eat at my desk. I just loved it because I could eat at any time. So I'm eating at my desk one morning. We start work at 8 o'clock, FYI, or 8:30, depending on what shift you're on. I was on a 8 o'clock shift that day. I got in early. We all aim to get in early, just in general, because you don't want to get in at 8 o'clock because then you're late, right? So I got there at 7:30. So obviously I'm going to make breakfast. I'm sitting at my desk eating breakfast because 7:30 in the morning in central London, when you don't live in central London, do you know how long it takes me to get there? Anyway, so I'm eating my breakfast. She comes in screaming at 7:35, talking about, everyone better be ready to work at 8 o'clock. If your computer's not on and you're not typing at 8, you're late. Firstly, it's 7:35, rest. But again, she's doing that because other senior management aren't in. Screaming, just throwing her weight around. And like I said, senior management, no, our boss knew what she was like, not to that extreme, but she definitely knew what she was like and overlooked a lot of stuff. But we had actually had quite a nice boss, top boss. Our top boss was actually really nice, but this boss below her was not. So yeah, throwing her weight around, screaming. And she got louder and louder. And as time passed, she got louder and louder. She was like, there better not be anyone still at their desk eating when we start work at 8. It's still 7:45, guys. So I'm here still eating my porridge. I see everyone else starting to run around and put their plates away. And usually I would have got up and put my plate away because I just can't be bothered with the stress or the ag. But that day I was like, I'm not finished and I'm not about to go and throw my food in the bin because you've got an attitude. This time, bear in mind, guys, I'm in my early 20s, but I'm a mum at this point. Because remember, I had my daughter in my early 20s. So I'm a mum. I'm letting this woman talk to me like a crazed banshee. But, you know, then one of my friends leans over and says, oh, I think she's talking to us, you know, because we're the only ones that still got food on our desk. Do you want me to take your bowl? I said, I'm not finished. She was like, I know, but you know she's going to get at you for no reason. I was like, it's literally 7:45. I get paid from 8 o'clock. So she's been screaming since 7:35. Like, this is a joke. I don't get paid to listen to her until 8 o'clock. So carried on eating. 7:50 now. She screams. But this time she comes over to my desk where me and my friend are sitting. Starts screaming. I mean, screaming at the top of her lungs. Remember, you're standing next to me. You're screaming at the top of your lungs, but you're not looking at me. You're just screaming above my head, but screaming at me, basically, if that makes sense. Saying that, basically, this is not a breakfast club or some nonsense. Anyway, let me hurry up with this story time so we can get to the good stuff. Screams at me. My friend says, Adele, like, do you want me to take your plate? I say, nah, because she's not talking to me. No one could ever be screaming at me like that. And then it all kicks off, guys. She says, pardon? Leans over me. Bear in mind, I'm facing forward. So her face is in the side, at my cheek. Screams at me. I mean, with all her force, with all her might, screams at me like I've slapped her mother. Like, that's how she screamed at me. She's about 3'2" at this point. Well, she's about 5'2", but you know what I mean? I'm exaggerating at this point. I'm 5'9" for context, like 5'8.5" for context. So at this point, I decided to use my height as intimidation because, like, we're not going to do this, innit? So I stand up. Because had we not been in work, this would have been a different type of confrontation because I'm not the 1, the 2, or the 3. So I stood up. Now I'm towering over her. She is still screaming. At this point, you're screaming in my breasts because that's what we're face to boob at this point, or face to belly button. I don't even know, but you're screaming at me. And I just lose everything. I see red and I think to myself, this job is not worth it. I start screaming at her and I start telling her, when I get paid as much as you, I'm going to throw my weight around too and no one can't tell me nothing either. And she goes, oh, you're saying there's favoritism? I said, I'm not, yes. She goes, no, she said, are you implying there's favoritism? I said, I'm not implying nothing. I'm telling you facts. You throw your weight around. I basically let out all the 6 months of anger. She continued to scream at me. We're now screaming in the office. My big boss comes in and just says, ladies, get in my office now. We go to her office. I don't calm down, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. In that moment, they could have sacked me because I did not care. She sits across the table and I said to my boss, listen, I said to her and my boss, I was like, if this had been outside, this would have been a different result. And she said, what are you trying to say? You threatening me? I said, I'm not threatening you, so I promise. Had this been outside and I don't have to work with you, I'd have dealt with you totally differently. You could have never spoken to me like that if it wasn't work. So I said, so continue what you're doing. But I said, just know, had we not been at work, you would have got dragged. My boss is like, Adele, stop talking. I think at this point, now I look back, I think my boss just really liked me and she didn't want me to get myself into any more problems. We then explained our sides of the story. In the end, I articulated myself quite well, even through the anger. I wanted to cry, by the way, guys. And when I want to cry, I either need to stay angry or I need to get away from everyone so I can go and cry somewhere so no one can see me. Because I'm not going to give anybody who's a bully the satisfaction of seeing me cry. And that's just my personality. When I get angry, I start to get really upset and emotional. And I don't want anyone to have the satisfaction to think they've upset me that much. Anyway, my boss ended up telling her she's no longer allowed to speak to me. Because obviously I explained that she has been shouting at me since 7:35. When my boss walked in, it still wasn't even 8 o'clock, guys. It was still 5 to 8. I said, I'm being screamed at to put away my food and be ready at 8 o'clock. And when my boss asked her, she was like to her, no, I was telling her XYZ. And my boss was like, yeah, but it's not even 8 o'clock yet. So why are you having a conversation with her? She needs to be ready at 8 o'clock to start work. And again, I was saying to my boss, and I said to her too, if you want to pay me from 7:30, that's fine. But if not, don't talk to me until 8 o'clock. You're not my boss until 8 o'clock. So please don't speak to me. And we have permission to eat at our desk. So I'm not doing anything that I'm not allowed to do. Anyway, it resulted in my boss making me only ever speak to my boss, and I didn't have to speak to that person anymore. If she wanted me to do something, she had to speak to my boss. And she started being really petty by saying, she would shout my boss's name and say to my boss, blah, blah, can you tell Adele to do blah, blah? She would do this in front of the team. It was very childish. However, this was the beginning of the end for her. Because after she did that to me, I was starting to be liked already by a lot of people in the office. I was starting to talk to a lot of people in the office. I realized a lot of people didn't like her. I was starting to, like suggest to other people they should stick up for themselves. I basically was starting to subtly, I wasn't like, oh, she's horrible. No, very quietly, very demure, very cutesy. I was very smart with how I was moving. I was very much letting other people bitch about her to me. And I was just being like, oh, really? Really? Oh my gosh, wow. I'd be in agreement, but I wouldn't be joining in the hate train because you're not going to use any of my words against me. So I would be listening. I would be giving suggestions, but not telling them like anything rude about her, just being smart. Anyway, that resulted in 2 people within our team bringing a complaint against her. I joined the complaint because they asked me to afterwards. And of course, I was ready to go. She got sacked. So I ended up with a great result. I know that is not the result for everybody, but I am going to give you pointers on exactly what you should be doing and exactly what I did and how we ended up with her being sacked. Document everything. This is your evidence. Do everything by email with that person. Whether your boss, a supervisor, a senior, whether it's someone you work with, a colleague, everything by email. If they talk to you face to face, follow it up with an email. So if she was said stuff to me to my face, or she would scurry across the office, and then my boss would tell me to do something, whatever, I would still email her and copy my boss in, my higher boss, saying, hi, as you requested earlier, XYZ, I have done this, and then I'd copy my boss in. If she would email me, now remember, she was told not to speak to me directly, but she would still email me. So say she emailed me with instructions, or she emailed us as a team with instructions, I would respond to those emails and copy my other boss in. I wouldn't always copy my other boss in, but I would respond. The reason for my response is so that I've got everything, how she talks to me, how she deals with me. Because even her email, she couldn't help it. There was attitude in the email. So I made sure I responded professionally and lovely. Why? Because I was keeping all this evidence. I had a little folder with her name on it and everything was saved in there. Why? Because if you ever play with me and you ever decide, like, I don't know, if they ever decide they were going to get rid of me, because let's be fair, I was screaming in the office, I'm going to have a catalogue. So I'd already been documenting what she'd been doing to me way before this argument, but I have a catalogue to now go to HR with. Oh, I'll take everyone to tribunal. I will. I have never had to go to tribunal. I've never been on the side of being the person taking a company to tribunal. I've been in tribunals because people have taken our company to tribunal and I'm in HR and I've had to be there. I've been in legal proceedings, but I have never taken a company to tribunal. But I would if you play with me. Fair is fair. I would take it to HR. I would take it to senior management. But there's no way I'm leaving quietly when someone is bullying me. So document everything. Don't allow these people to verbally abuse you. When they want to speak to you verbally, try and do it in a location where there's other people around. If they're like, oh, can I have a word with you really quickly in my office? You can say like, oh, hold on 1 minute. Can I grab a notepad? I'm just going to take notes. That throws people off. Sometimes even when they're just about to be rude to you, it throws them off because you're like, why are you taking notes? They're like, oh no, it's going to be really quick. You're like, no, I don't want to forget what you're going to say. I'm just grabbing my paper and my pad. Go and grab your paper and your pad. It throws people off because then they're like, oh, why are you taking notes? But again, be stealth. Don't let someone know that you're collecting evidence on them. Don't let them know that you collect every single email. Just do it and move in silence. Number 2, be exceptional at your job. You need to be so good at your job. There are no gaps. There are no flaws. There is no room for error. And yes, I know we all make mistakes. That's fine. When you make mistakes, hold your hands up, fix it. When I make a mistake and if I notice I've made a mistake, first thing I do is fix it and then then go and tell my boss, like, I made this mistake. I'm really sorry, but this is what I did to rectify it. If I can't rectify it fully, then obviously I'll do as much as I can and then I'll go to my boss and be like, I'm really sorry. This is what happened. This is what I've done to fix it. I've realised my mistake so it won't happen again in the future. This is the measures I've put in place to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. But can you help me finish this part? We have to be accountable when we make mistakes. However, we have to try our best not to make those mistakes. And if we do make a mistake, not to make it again. When I say be exceptional at your job, I'm not saying that you're never going to make a mistake. What I am saying is that you are going to make sure you're visible. Don't just do your job and have your head down. Do your job well and talk about it. In the team meeting when everyone's sharing their wins and you don't want to because you can't bother because what's the point in showing off? Share the win. You need people to know how good you are at your job, especially when you have a terrible boss. You need other people, including senior management and HR and the rest of your team, to know how good you are. Why? Because they will advocate for you. Do you think when those two people brought the complaint against my boss, the reason they asked me was because firstly, they liked me. They were like, yeah, let's get Adele involved in this. But also they wanted to advocate for me because they were like, we saw what she did to you. We saw how disgusting it was. Da, 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 da. This has also happened to us. So we've already taken this to the boss and we wondered if you wanted to get on it too. Yes, of course I want to get in on it. And that will work for you too. But people have to like you. And how do people like you? The first way of getting people to like you is be exceptional at your job so that they can't say anything bad about you. Let people respect you first. That's respect. That's not like, that's respect. People are like, you know what, she's really good at her job. Exceptional. Senior management, if they think you're great at your job, why would they want to lose you? They're gonna try and find a way to make you and that manager coexist because they don't want you to lose an amazing member of staff and an amazing boss. Because obviously, remember, they think your boss is amazing, otherwise they wouldn't have kept them on. So now they think you're amazing. Now you need to be liked. Being liked is different from being respected. Being liked is networking. Being liked is finding out about senior management and then talking to them about the boring stuff that they enjoy talking about. All the fun stuff they enjoy talking about. It might not be boring to you. It might be lovely and fun. Going on the team, like, I don't know, drinks or outing, going on the team building weekend or the exercise or whatever it is, going to the conference. Now, you don't have to go to every single one. Pick and choose which ones work for you, but you need to go to some of them. We all know in the world of corporate, the most experienced person doesn't get the job. We all know that the most experienced person doesn't get the promotion. The person that is liked gets the promotion. The person that they knew from college or university gets the promotion. The person that kisses their butt and does everything they want gets the promotion. The person who has all the dirt on them gets the promotion. Now, I often used to have dirt on a lot of people. Why? Because people used to come and tell me their secrets. I don't know why. People had this comfortability with me. And they would just tell me stuff or do things in front of me that were very not okay. And I would be like, oh. And I would register that in my think tank. I would make a note. I would get evidence of the thing that they had done and I would save it somewhere. Again, this goes back to documentation and being stealth. I had folders on everything. If you was doing things you shouldn't have been doing and I found out and I could get evidence, I would get saved evidence. If you were spending on your company card in a way that I knew you shouldn't be, hey, I've got evidence. If I saw you kissing someone at the Christmas party that you shouldn't be because I know you're married and you saw that I saw and then you came over and was like, oh, Adele, it shouldn't have happened. I'm like, listen, I saw nothing. It's not my business. That's your personal life. That's got nothing to do with me. Here, it's in my back pocket though. So when I come to ask you for that pay rise or that promotion and we have that conversation, you're thinking, can I really say no to her? I'm never going to bring it up. Just know, you should never be blackmailing anyone. I'm never going to bring it up. I'm never going to say, oh, you did this or you did that. But people feel uncomfortable when you know stuff about them that you shouldn't know. And if that means that you're going to get ahead, oh well, because that is how people get ahead in corporate. It's a terrible thing. In my 20s. My 20s was hard, guys. This is all in my 20s, by the way. This is not now. Like, I've never had to navigate like toxic environments because I don't attract them anymore. I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm not saying that there's not toxic people within the environments that I've been in, but I don't attract as toxic an environment because I ask the right questions at interview. That's really important. I just tend to not attract as much toxicity as I did in my 20s when I was just really chasing money, because that's the truth. I was only chasing money. I didn't care about my peace. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care if I was at peace or not. I cared about if my bank account was at peace and if I could take my daughter on holiday and I could pay these bills and do all this other stuff. So I'm gonna be honest, that's why in my 20s I think I attracted a lot more toxicity. And it was okay. I was able to deal with it then. Now, no, at this big grown ages, I'll want to fight everyone. So it will be too much. Anyway, be exceptional at your job, stand out, make sure you talk about the things you've done. When senior managers ask you to do something, do it and then report back. I know it feels like icky, but just report back. Be like, oh, all the things you've asked me to do are done. I tend to get other people's work done first, then do mine. I obviously prioritize, but I don't like other people's work on my desk. I don't like other people waiting for me to get something done. So I would prefer, even if you say to me, oh, your work, you don't need it till Friday, I'll do it by tomorrow because I don't want it on my desk no more. I want it done. That's how you stand out. That's how you're exceptional. You're going above and beyond timelines. You're delivering work. It's at the great standard. You're giving them exactly what they want and more. That's how senior managers will notice you. You network. You build strong, positive relationships. Find out about their family. Find out about things they like. And then talk about those things. That's how you connect with people. Like, I like when people remember my birthday at work. I like when they ask me things about my daughter. Like, that's how I build a network. That's how I like them at work. That's how we build friendships at work. And work friendships are different from personal friendships, but they're still friendships. So that's what you should be doing. When you network really well, you never have to stand alone. There'll always be others that will stand with you. There will always be others that will have your back. Listen, there will always be people that are too scared to stand up for themselves in a corporate environment. You will be in some places where everyone has dealt with the toxicity for so long that they just go along with it. They're not willing to stand up for themselves. I've seen people like literally their mental health deteriorate because they're not willing to stand up for themselves and they just put up with anything. I've seen people crying in the toilets, crying in their car, like getting ill, having to be signed off from stress, all because of one person. Nah. No one's kicking my butt like that. No one is allowed to make you feel like that. For anyone in that situation right now, it is not you, it is them. No one should make you feel that small. A lot of the times it comes from maybe even childhood or being bullied or having a parent who made you feel really small and kind of bullied you too. But as an adult, we can't stop letting people bully you. It's not okay. It's not worth your mental health. If you need to remove yourself, remove yourself. But if you feel strong enough to stand up for yourself, you need to start gathering the evidence and move accordingly. Documentation is key. He said, she said doesn't work. If you keep saying, oh, she said this to me and she says, no, I didn't, how'd you prove it? Or he said this to me and he says, no, I didn't, how'd you prove it? That's why I said to you, write everything down and do everything by email. Stop talking to these people that are horrible to you. Write them professional emails and get them to write you back. Because I promise you, those emails that they send you back will start to be more professional. Except for the ones that are literally rogue hooligans, and they will also send the RC emails and they will send you the rude WhatsApps. Save them. Why are you deleting them? Save them all. This is your evidence. This is your case against this person. Because when you're ready to go to HR and you've got all this stuff documented, something has to be done. Because if it's not done, you go to ACAS. And ACAS can support you in the next steps. But make sure, before you decide if you're going to go to ACAS or you're going to elevate anything, if you're going to leave and you know you don't want to stay, you can still bring this issue to the forefront so that it gets dealt with, but also be looking for another job. Because sometimes you might not want to bring something to light and then stay in that environment. Or sometimes you might want to bring something to light. The person leaves and you stay. When that person left in my job, didn't gloat, didn't talk about her again, just carried on with my day. When someone said to me, oh, things been sacked, I was like, oh, wow, that's it. I was happy. I was doing a happy dance on the inside, but I'm not going to do a happy dance at work. Never show all your cards. That's really important at work. Some of you talk too much. Some of you are chatty patties. Never show all your cards. Never slag other people off. Never talk about your bosses or your other colleagues to other people. Even your work bestie. Be careful, because that stuff will come back to bite you in the butt. Let other people bitch and you just listen and comfort and be kind. If someone leaves and you're happy about it, be happy at home with your family and your friends and people you trust. Don't be happy at work with your work bestie and everyone else. No. Be very careful. These things can come back to bite you. Next thing I want you to remember, and I've said it already, except that senior management already know. They know their manager's worst qualities. But again, because the manager is giving them a result that they desire, they will keep that manager on. And even if you bring it to the forefront, you will sometimes be the one that they end up getting rid of, or they end up managing you out. So they won't make it obvious because obviously they don't want it to be bad, but they'll suddenly start talking about every time you're late and before it wasn't an issue, and being late should always be an issue, but you know what I mean. They will start, like any sick day, they start scrutinizing you. Every bit of work you do, they scrutinize it. If something isn't exactly before deadline, like they'll scrutinize every part of your work. When that starts to happen, it means they're trying to manage you out. And when they're trying to manage you out, do not wait to be managed out. Start looking for work. Do not leave until you've got another job, but remove yourself. Do not let people manage you out. Like a lot of people say to me, I saw it coming. So if you saw it coming, then why did you sit there and wait to be sacked? Why did you sit there and let them take you down like disciplinary or extend your probation? If you see it coming, there's nothing wrong with it. Let them extend your probation. Start getting ready to remove yourself. There is better out there. There is more money out there. Even if you're on the most money you've ever been on before, the fact that you were able to land that, you will land more money again. I've taken a pay cut to get out of a toxic environment and then ended up making way more money than I ever had, ended up getting shares in a company. Listen, every negative thing has a good outcome sometimes when it's for your best interest. Every cloud has a silver lining, you know that saying? That is very true, especially when you are doing what is right. There's a difference between what is right and what is wrong. Doing what is right is sometimes the hardest thing because it comes with like a negative outcome. Like, I don't know, having to lose the 70k salary and go down to 50k. but having your peace of mind and your mental health, and then having more capacity, and then that 50k within less than a year, you're back on 70, or you're over that and you're on 80 or 90. Listen, nothing has to take years to get back there. Just because that's your first 60k job, 70k job, 80k job, you can get another one because you did it once, you can do it again. Anything you can do once, you can do twice. Anything you can do twice, you can do 3 times. Anything you can do 3 times, you can do 4, and so on. As you can tell, I'm really passionate about this because I hate bullies. And that's all a toxic box is, a bully. But just remember, like I said, if senior management know, the result is not always going to be in your favor. Sometimes they're going to rather get rid of you than get rid of that manager. And that is just how it is. Also, HR know. I've been in HR before. Sometimes HR are as awful as senior management. They know what's going on. And because they don't want to look bad to senior management, they let senior management do whatever they want, even when it's not ethical, even when it's not in line with employment law. They just do their job because they're scared of getting sacked because senior management is also toxic. So just understand that sometimes HR is in a really hard position. And other times, they actually just want to kiss the bum of the person above them. So I'm keeping it 100% real with you guys. Like I said at the start of the episode, if it costs you your peace or your mental health, leave. So if all else fails, if you've done the documentation, if you've taken it to where you need to take it to, if you've had the conversations, you've sat down, you've had meetings and said, this doesn't work for me because like I'm being screamed at. Like I had another job that was really toxic and I went to the boss and this was the bravest I've ever been, guys. And I was literally like to him, I don't think I'm going to be able to work here anymore. And he was like, what? And he was like, you're doing really well. And I was like, yeah, but you scream at me and click your fingers. It's horrible. I said, I can't work in that type of environment. I feel like you're treating me like a child and then I'm acting like a child sometimes because sometimes I could do more work, but I don't. I sit there on purpose doing nothing because I'm just so frustrated by how you think it's okay to click your fingers at me, and also going to my emails when I'm not in them and start forwarding them to me. So you're in my email. So I'll get an email from myself, but it's him in my emails forwarding to me, saying to me, oh, deal with this. Oh, you need to deal with this. You need to deal with this. Sir, I know how to prioritize. Leave me alone. So we had a meeting. He was like, oh, it's because I'm used to dealing with more junior people. You're quite senior in the way you work and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't want you to leave. He had to get senior management involved to try and convince me to stay. I told them I would stay, but it was a lie. I was already interviewing for jobs and I left. I said to them, I'll stay. But I was already out the door. I am a big believer in once I bring a problem to your attention, you never thought it was a problem. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been acting like that. But so once I bring it to your attention, I'm already ready to leave. Like I can't stay after that. Only reason being is I feel like you're always going to be looking at me with a side eye. So I personally, and this is my personal choice, don't want to stay anywhere that I'm not wanted or appreciated, and don't want to stay anywhere that I've had to fight to get the appreciation. However, if I can get someone removed, if someone else is sacked, then I'm going to stay. I'm not silly. The problem's now gone. Also, remember, when you become a manager, learn. When you become a leader, learn from other people's mistakes. Be the leader that you wish you had, because a lot of people become a leader and then turn into the monster that they hated in the first place. Listen, remember how you wanted to be managed. Even if you've never been managed that way before, be that manager. Don't be the toxic manager. But again, if all else fails, leave. Leave. Plan your escape. And you know how I talk about planning your escape. You don't need to wait till you're at your wit's end and then you just throw your notice in and now you're spinning out and your nervous system is all going haywire because you don't have another job lined up. Listen, bills need to be paid. We don't need to be in that situation. Even me, with having months and months of emergency fund, I still will plan my escape. There was only one time in one job where I left with no other job lined up. I was fed up. I gave my notice with no other job lined up. Thank God my notice period was a long notice period. I ended up finding a job towards the very end of that notice period. Like I was moving into panic at that point. But that's why I ended up taking a pay cut, because I just needed a job. I'm a single mum. I had a really young child. It just needed to happen. However, plan your escape. If you know you're going to leave anyway, okay, start putting your CV out there. Start booking interviews. Don't mean you still can't take down that toxic person. If you know you don't want to stay, then don't. And everything I've said in this episode also applies to your colleagues. The difference with your colleagues is they're at the same level with you. If you get liked by management and senior management above your colleague, hey, you're going to be their boss before you know it. Payback's a bitch. Your success is a bit. Listen, the best revenge is your paper. The best revenge is getting that promotion above the person who is treating you like crap. Yeah? Smile. Grin. We cannot in life get on with every single person. Sometimes you've got to learn to manage other people. So I don't deal with all people at work the same. I deal with them the way I need to. So I deal with certain people in a way that isn't the way I would naturally deal with someone, but it gets me a better response from them. It gets me a better outcome. Because sometimes we need to look at ourselves as well and be like, well, if you treat everyone the same, but everyone isn't actually the same, then that's why you're going to keep getting like that type of result from them. Maybe you're getting certain energy from them because you're not dealing with them the way they want to be dealt with. And I know you're saying, oh, but they're not dealing with me the way I want to be dealt with. Listen, there has to be one bigger person. Do you want to get ahead? Do you want a peaceful life? Or do you want to be right all the time? Sometimes we need to find middle ground. I know I'm right. And I know the person may be overreacting, or they may like be rude in their way they talk to me, but they may not even realize that they're rude. So I will kill them with kindness. And I will be like, oh, this is how I meant it. This is what I said. I will explain it. If I need to spoon feed you, I will. But I can professionally get someone together without having to be disrespectful or bullyish. But there is definitely an undertone of like, don't talk to me like that. Let me help you. Let me help you address things properly. Anyway, like I said, keep a record. Document everything. If someone emails you and copies in the world, make sure your response copies in the world too. They copied in everyone. You reply to all, but make your response professional and detailed. Do you know how many times someone has come for me and said to me, Adele, you didn't do X, Y, Z? And I have had email proof, and I've been like, oh yeah, on the 6th of December at 15:40, I emailed you this. And on the 3rd of September at blah, 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 I emailed you this. And on the 10th of blah, blah, please see all attached. And I will have copied everyone in. Now you look stupid. This is why I do everything by email, guys. Because you might remember, you might have amazing memory, and you remember that they told you to do that thing. Where's your proof? When they tell the other bosses that you didn't do it, where's your proof that you did? Where's your proof that you were waiting on them to respond and that's why you couldn't move the project forward? Email. Everything by email. No one ever cares about email until they need it. No one ever cares about documentation until they need it. A boss of mine taught me this when I was 19 and I was a deputy manager. She taught me to document everything. She goes, you never think you need it until there's a problem. And you may never need it, but isn't it better to have it and never need it than to need it and not have it? Guys, we are not putting up with toxic bosses. It's 2024. We are past those days. Listen, we went through a whole pandemic. We're not going to be here now putting up with nonsense bosses. Absolutely not. We can do better. We should expect better, and we deserve better. So we should go and get better. But we should not have to give up our dream jobs and dream salaries because of one person. If you need more support with stuff like this, reach out. My coaching, whether it's my coaching program, whether it's a one-to-one, one-off session, whether it's you need some confidence building, book a free call. Let's talk and let's see what would work for you to move you forward. Because sometimes it's not always a long coaching package. Sometimes you need to do a session or 2 sessions. Sometimes you need some long-term Voxer support. Whatever it is, let's chat about it. But let's make sure we don't stick to these toxic bosses and allow them to keep running over us and bulldozing us out of jobs that we love. Anyway, I will speak to you guys in the next episode.
I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed and motivated you to confidently take steps towards your next career move. If you enjoyed it, screenshot and share it on your socials, tag me on Instagram, and come join my community of amazing women working on leveling up their confidence and careers. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.